Right, now let's go back to the melodic music theory. I'm going to cover some basics here. So Western music uses 12 notes. This goes all the way back to, back when Beethoven and Mozart and Vivaldi and even before that, 12 notes. And this is the way that they're written. You have there's the 12 notes, and you have A, and then the note that's between A and B. There's a note between there, and they call it A sharp. And then you can see B, and then C. Oh, there's no B sharp. There's because those two notes are a half a step apart. And you'll see that over there on the 8th and 9th notes too, E and F. There's no sharp note between them. So you got A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp. And then it goes back to A, which would be a higher octave. A would be a higher note, but it's basically just another A. There's a bunch of A's. There's on a piano, there's a bunch of A's, there's a bunch of B's. They're just different octaves. So, as I just said, each of these successive notes are musically a half a step higher in pitch from the previous note, and these are also called semitones. The little pound sign hashtag symbol means it's a half a step higher. That's a sharp. The little B symbol, it's a flat. It's a half step lower. And notes that are not altered are called natural. So, since you have a flat symbol and a sharp symbol, you can see that those notes that I just showed you up at the top, those 12 notes, they can also be written with flats. So you can say A, and then instead of A sharp, you can say B flat, because right next to it is a B. So A, B flat, B, C. See, there's no, those two, B and C are half step apart. So A, B flat, B, C, D flat, D, E flat, E, F, G flat, G, A flat, and then back to the A on the next octave. Typically, Western music only uses 7 of these 12 at a time. So, for example, the simplest case, the key of C major, we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and those are the 7 notes. There's no sharps or flats. But as I said, even though there are no sharps or flats, there are still there's places where naturally occurring half steps occur. And I just showed those to you between B and C and E and F. And here's a little diagram of a piano keyboard, and you can see there's no black key between E and F and B and C. All right, so now we're going to get down to the modes, how modal scales are formed. So there's a diagram down there, and it's got all the 7 church modes. So from the prior example, here's the top row there is the number 1 Ionian, which I also said is called the major mode. See the first note there is the C, and so we have that from the prior example, C, D, E, F. See, I got a little dot between the E and F. That's denoting that those are half steps apart. F, G, A, B, C. Again, B and C are half step apart. So you can see there's a half step between the 3rd and 4th and the 7th and the 8th. This is the baseline case for the 7 modal scales in the Western music, and you might wonder why these things have such weird names. These are really old modes. They're back, in the medieval times, and these were named after regions of ancient Greece. So the sequence of these notes, as you might have imagined, it's kind of like going upstairs. Here's a little diagram of some stairs, but you can see some of the steps are whole steps and some are the half steps. So it's just reinforcing this notion here, and you can see that here we are in the C Ionian. We've got half step between the 3rd and 4th and the 7th and the 8th, and they happen naturally there because there's no sharps, right? It's just those half steps just occur naturally. So there you go. I'm just again emphasizing. Here's our half steps between the third, the fourth, and the seventh, and the eighth, and that defines the Ionian mode. And on a musical staff, which is 5 lines horizontally and with little ovals, either on the ovals will either be on us in a space or it'll be on the line, and so here you have the notes of the C major, C Ionian mode scale on a staff, and so you see C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and where the half steps are. Oh, there it goes. Okay, well that's a little weird. Okay, we'll have to figure that out. That took too long for those to show up. All right, so the other 6 modal scales use the same notes as the Ionian mode scale, but each mode starts on a different note. And I use this mnemonic sentence to remember the order of the modes, and I use this sentence: is Dad pretending like Mom ate locale? And I like this sentence because there's 2 L's, and so you don't get confused. The Lydian is on the word like, and so I and Y are somewhat similar. And at the 7th mode, Locrian, locale, and Locrian, they kind of start similarly, so it helps, initially. But now that I have them memorized, it's not a problem. But initially, it was kind of helpful to have those sounds be similar to the name of the mode. All right, so this mode chart, it does show how each modal scale is created. So you progress down the mode chart using the same notes of the C Ionian scale, but you start on a different note. You can see I've highlighted that first note of each mode there, and you can see it just goes down C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And so you're just starting on the successive note of the C Ionian mode, and then just arranging the notes in order, and those half steps move. So for example, the Dorian mode starts on the 2nd note of C Ionian, D. So that's D Dorian. The half steps are still between E and F and B and C, but their relative position in the scale changes. And here you can see the staff with starting at D and moving up all the way to the octave D above, and the half steps are now between the 2nd and 3rd and 6th and 7th scale degrees. That defines the Dorian mode. So the key refers to the tonic, which is the first note of the scale you're in. The last slide it was D, right? So the mode refers to where the half steps occur. Okay, so in that last example, we were in D Dorian, and so if we say that, we know the half steps are between the 2nd and 3rd and 6th and 7th scale degrees. Now, the thing that makes each mode sound or kind of feel different from the others is the placement of those half steps. That's critical. So in Western music, the Ionian, also called major mode, the Mixolydian, used a lot in rock and roll music, and the Aeolian modes. Aeolian is another name for that, is the minor mode. Dorian is quite common as well, but it's used mostly in jazz type music. And so here's a little chart that shows you where the half steps occur in each of the modes. Now for the harmonica, it's important to understand these 2 things to select the right harmonica and the position to play in. You need to know the key of the song that you're playing, and you need to know that mode. Those are the 2 most important things.